Hey everybody, time for another midweek chat. We got October, if you can't tell from the trees behind me. Man, I just was on my bicycle today, and it's like every block has some stunners. And I got to find one of these places for the chat today. So this is, if I push the camera back 5 inches, it would bump into the sign that says Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd. And that's right in our neighborhood at St. James. They're our friends. We'll have our ecumenical Thanksgiving service here this year, I think, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So you can't, I can see the church if I look off, but you're looking across the street to the south of Good Shepherd Church, just off 11th Street, our address at St. James. So the neighbor's pulling his garbage in today. You hear a chainsaw in the background, maybe. I know people need them, but that's one of my least favorite sounds. Chainsaws. Anyway, I think I've been woken up early in the morning by chainsaws too often. But so it's good to be able to communicate with you again this week. So last week was up on the North Shore, pretty exciting place to be, on the Baptism River. Now we're back in Eau Claire here. You know, sometimes people go up to the North Shore just of Lake Superior to look for fall colors. And I saw something pretty beautiful, but man, I grew up in Wausau, I think Eau Claire. I just drive around the neighborhoods here, and it's like really, I don't know. I don't really know why people have to travel to find the North Shore. I guess there's, like you go to Vermont, or I've never been there in the fall, or maybe the North Shore, you might see a whole hillside that's just, but I don't know. I go biking in Dunn County, west of Menominee there in County X through the town of Weston. It's just, this whole hillsides are yellow and orange and red, and it's pretty great right here in good old Wisconsin, I think. So anyway, I got some Parish news. I got an apple. I thought this was pretty cool. So it's a pretty good sized apple, right? It looks like a beef eater tomato almost. This one, it's not quite as big as a softball maybe, but pretty good. So I picked this up at Leffel Roots Orchard last week. It's called a Wolf River apple. And I got it for historical interest, actually. But just eating one of these, it's like all you can eat, like for a lunch. So it's good for dieters to get one of these apples and try to eat it. You're not really hungry for anything else after if you get it down. But there's records of, if I remember reading it right, 1875, these apples growing on the Wolf River in Wisconsin. So it's one of those indigenous kind of apple trees. So I got it for historical interest. I've had better tasting apples, but I thought it was pretty cool. And you know, get in touch with our history, our roots, eating some indigenous apples from Wisconsin. Yeah, I remember that one year I was in California studying. It was 95, 96. And I was with some people who are from California, and they said, "Oh, we're so excited when it's October. Look at the fall colors." And I looked out the window. I think we were driving, and I just didn't see anything, you know. So I go, "Fall colors," and they said, "Yeah, look, right." I go, "Where?" They go, "Right there." And I'm looking, and it's like brown, you know. And I thought, well, I guess I've seen different fall colors than green to brown, but we don't want to put anyone down, but it just shows that we have such beauty here that, you know, golly, others see things far less colorful and think it's beautiful. So we should really take advantage of what we have here. I've been playing with this paper. I don't know where I put it. With my Parish news and stuff on it. Where did I put it? I had it. And it's got a list of stuff. Where'd it go? I'm kneeling on 2 books because I'm in a bed of rocks right here. I mean, honestly, I just had this paper. Could it possibly be? Oh, this is a leaf. Oh my gosh. Hate to waste your time like this. Sorry. Where could it be? After telling a story on Sunday about losing my wallet at the golf course, you'll think I can't keep track of the nose on my face. Well, I'm not kneeling on it. Where could it be? This is bananas. Can I remember what I wrote down? Oh my gosh. It can't be. Oh gosh. Well, I mean, literally, I just looked at it and I haven't really moved. So, where could it be? Got my wallet. That's good. Here it is. It's in my pocket. Sorry for that. Okay, ready for some parish news? Good old parish news. Anybody, speaking of fall leaves, anybody in the area that needs raking? Maybe you used to have kids who would come and rake and they live far away now, or used to do it and you're just older and it's hard to. So our youth of the St. James Parish is up for going out on November 6th to do some raking. And they're looking for a good 3-4 households yet that could use rakers. So don't be shy. Let us know. Let me know or somebody at the office. And we'll get that name to Kelly Boudry and get a work crew out at your house. God willing, that should be good. Big thing with October also, of course, is Halloween, right? So we're continuing our tradition of trunk or treat. I think we started that because COVID concerns a couple years ago. So people that volunteer to bring their cars, maybe decorate them with a theme for Halloween, open up the trunk and distribute candy to families or children that go by. So we need that. We need some people that would offer their trunks and their decoration, maybe dress up and hand out candy. We could also use some people that would just want to donate candy, and there'll be bins around church if you want to bring some candy to share with people in our trunk or treat. Trunk or treat will be Saturday, October 29th. I think 2:30 to 4:30. I didn't write it down this time, but I think that's it, 2:30 to 4:30. And then the new twist this year is that you're invited to bring a carved pumpkin. There'll be a table there, and everybody will put their carved pumpkins on it, and you'll vote who gets the pumpkin of the year. So that'll be good. It won't be me, but I'll enjoy it. I might carve one though. I love what I always did since I was a boy is I'd carve one very unartistically, but adequately. And then scoop the seeds out and bake the seeds in a little oil. Roast them, I guess would be the word. And then salt them. And boy, love them. I eat those very happy memories of eating pumpkin seeds as a child. And I still do it probably about every other year, every third year when I have a pumpkin myself. So don't waste a bit of that pumpkin. You can make pumpkin soup with that pumpkin stuff and eat the seeds. Okay, and I don't know if a few weeks ago I mentioned our Italian dinner coming up, Beth Cerny Productions, or homemade pasta. So I forget if I mentioned, but there's been a change of date on that. Father Karate was all excited. He's going to come on November 19th. He said, yeah, I'm there. It's in my calendar. And then I found out that they had to change that date because it conflicted with the opening deer hunting season weekend. So it's not going to be November 19th. It'll be the Saturday before. Is it Saturday? I'm not sure it's Saturday, Sunday, but it's November 12th. So you can, November, All Saints Day is a Tuesday this year, so that's the 1st. So the 8th will be a Tuesday. 10th will be a Thursday. 12th will be a Saturday. Yeah, so it'll be Saturday evening. And there's not going to be takeouts this time. It'll just be kind of family style served. In the menu, 5 cheese ravioli with a red sauce, shrimp linguine with a garlic cream sauce, and before that an antipasti platter, salad, sausage and bread, and then classic tiramisu for dessert. So pretty good. And we already have 10 people that have reserved. We can have as many as 50. She's looking in that 30 to 50 range for that Italian dinner on November 12th, the Saturday. Okay, so we got that straight. That's good. Okay, that might be all the big sort of parish announcements. Our confirmation program kicked off on Sunday, so those guys are going real good. There's a couple things here and there. For lunch, I went over to the Silly Serrano, their parish family that runs that, and Giovanni and Sheila. It's so good. They used to have the restaurant across the street from the farmer's market, and they relocated It's about equidistant from St. James, but it's more where the old one was, southeast. This is more west southwest. It's on Cameron as you're getting close to Claremont on the north side of the road. You might enjoy it. It's just breakfast and lunch. Wednesdays they have the chorizo burger, so I don't like to do commercials, but they're lovely people and it's really good food. So you might want to check it out sometime. So okay. So this week I went up to with a group of 15 of us. We did a Benedictine retreat. I wrote a little bit out in the bulletin this weekend too, but so for years and years and years, if there's anybody who's beloved in Eau Claire, as far as church goes, it's the Father Klimek of happy memory. He was the hospital chaplain for 40 years or something like that. Just lived at the hospital, was there, a comfort for so many people that were hurting. So if I had to pick one individual, it'd probably be Father Klimek. But if there's a group of people that is just beloved in Eau Claire, in the history of Eau Claire and the church, it'd definitely be the Sisters of St. Bede. And I'm not sure when St. Bede started. I know the sisters were here for a long, long time. They were associated with St. Patrick's Parish for a while. They were teachers. Then they built a place on the south side of town called St. Bede Monastery. Also, I think they called it monastery a little bit later in their span of time here, but St. Bede Priory, people might be more familiar with that. They had to sell. Their numbers just got too few, and they got reabsorbed into the place from which they came, which was St. Benedict Monastery in St. Joseph, Minnesota, pretty close to St. Cloud. So, and I was real privileged to be their chaplain. When I was doing campus ministry, I'd run out there twice a week and then Sunday morning for Mass. And, you just couldn't meet a more hospitable group of people in the world than the Sisters of St. Bede. And so we arranged before we were going to St. John's for our overnight retreat. It's just, 7 miles away from St. John's on the way. And so I asked Sister Michaela if they were free to host us for midday prayer and lunch and a little walk around campus. And they were delighted. They said, as long as there's no funeral that day, we will be there with bells on. And I think my one image from all those 2 days of retreat that stays with me most is when we pulled in to they have like a little drive-in area where you can park short-term, and there's the chapel gathering space doors right ahead. And here's the city bus. It goes by every half hour. It goes right by St. James as well. Turn left here at 11th Street and go by. And so we pull in the cars, and we kind of told them when we'd be there, and they were expecting us, and we didn't have a lot of time to waste because we're going to pray midday prayer with them, and we didn't want to be disruptive. We wanted to get there plenty early so we wouldn't be, late or last minute or something. And I think we just hit the range of acceptability toward the later end when we pulled in. But so there was Sister Judy Kramer and Sister Michaela Hedekin, and they were standing right outside by the doors there, and they were there waving for us. And if that's not just a sacramental photo, typify what so many of us know about them, to welcome us, to be kind to us, and to make us feel like we're important in their eyes. So they were there to greet us, and we prayed with the whole group of sisters there. So there's 5 former St. Bede's nuns who are at St. Benedict's Abbey. The rest who are still living are across on the east side of, this is sort of west of St. Cloud, and so on the east side of St. Cloud, Minnesota, there's a place called St. Scholastica with a little more nursing care, and those sisters are there. But at St. Benedict Monastery, so the ones that we saw were Sister Michaela and Sister Judy, Sister Karen Strevler, Sister Ruth Feeney, and Sister Lucy, whose last name escapes me. But I hadn't seen Lucy in like 12, 14 years, so that was a real special joy. But all of them, so it's really good. And I don't know, we're just kind of struck, everybody's just struck by their kindness and their humility, and they would have stories to tell. They're actually coming to, some of them, I think just maybe Michaela and Judy, maybe more, are coming to Regis High School in Eau Claire. I think it's October 26th, to talk to Regis students and alumni about the roots, the church roots, getting going, what it was like when Regis High School started going and how they relied on the sisters to get that going. It'll be lovely. I can't go. I could probably have snuck my way in. I'm actually going to have a foot surgery that day, so kind of a minor thing, I hope, but anyway, I'll miss that. But but that'll be a lovely thing if you can wheedle your way in there. But I just heard different stories about it, but they said, they're always, the nuns were always just kind of the humble, the ones that are kind of low on the totem pole as far as, I don't know, getting stuff or money, or, they weren't paid a lot necessarily that's why Catholic education got so expensive, because the nuns who aren't paid that much aren't really around anymore. So we have lay people that still aren't paid as much as they should be, but more than the nuns were getting. And so it just drives the cost up. And so anyway, that's why that's always a challenge, funding Catholic education. But they said there were times, I think they slept initially in the classrooms. So the classrooms were the sisters' bedrooms. So they'd have to get up early and kind of, put all the bedroom stuff away and get all the classrooms set up, and they kind of, lived there. Some of them had a house kind of in the third ward before the last on South Side, that bigger complex was built. But they shared, there was one time when they would go, so it's like the priests always had enough, I guess, comfort in their lives and supplies, and the teachers did, the non-teachers. But there was a time when the priors would have to knock on the door of the principal, like Father Rosteter or somebody like that, and say, I'm sorry, but you got to give us, we don't have enough money to buy our food this week, and so, they'd have to kind of beg for that. So really just a history of a lot of humility and service, and I don't want to celebrate the fact that they needed that, but to celebrate the fact that they endured and they continued to serve even when things were not so easy, right? So just a little example. They'll probably tell that story on the 26th, and better ones than that, I'm sure. So, and I mentioned this in the bulletin too, it's pretty great. So at St. Bede Priory, St. Bede Monastery, they had a chapel, of course, and they had an altar of gray granite. And I had heard that they repurposed it, that they took it from, so now it's a daycare center for UW Eau Claire. And so they, desacralized or, unblessed. I don't know what you do, but when you close down a chapel, you kind of take the sacred stuff out, and so it can be used just as a daycare center. And anyway, they removed the altar and they took it to St. Benedict Monastery in Minnesota, and I think it hung out just in a storage for a couple of years. And someone had the idea to help us connect the lives of all the sisters that served in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, who came from this mother house where we all are now living, St. Benedict Monastery in St. Joseph, Minnesota. Why don't we put it in the cemetery? And it doesn't look like an altar. It's like they took the top of the altar off, and then they kind of turned it 90 degrees and set it on the ground. And it's classy the way they did it. And then on that, what would have been the top of the altar, they inscribed the names of every sister who served in Eau Claire, who's buried in Eau Claire. So at St. Patrick's Cemetery in town, there's a section for the sisters of St. Bede Monastery. And the names of all of those sisters are inscribed there. It's like Sister Hildegard, Sister Pauline, Sister Mary Jane. Some of those funerals I was presided at, but so I remember them very well. It's a nice place to visit. So anyway, I just thought it was really, really lovely, and just kind of closing my eyes and remembering that altar was there, and then we celebrated Mass there all those years, and so there was a sadness to that, the change, and yet I just give them a lot of credit for trying to repurpose and to find hope in that. And it's a beautiful, beautiful testament to their time in Eau Claire that's now memorialized at St. Benedict Monastery Cemetery. So something to see there. There's a picture of that stone with the names inscribed on our Facebook page if you want to look at it and click on the picture and then close up. So the names are very legible. So, yeah, while we're talking about altars, we have just one more thought to maybe share. So I don't know if I mentioned at the North Shore last week. I went one day. I drove more than I walked up to the Canadian border, just in from Grand Portage. So that little tip, the radio station, public radio out there is WTIP. It's like the tip. It's like the tip of Minnesota that's just hanging over the Lake Superior there. And if Minnesota's like, I shouldn't even have started doing this, but if Minnesota's kind of like shaped like that. You got Lake Superior here, so the tip is right here. Anyway, kind of near the tip, and then I drove up about 20 miles. Then you get to this Pigeon River, which is the border with Canada. And I'd heard this waiter the night before in a restaurant just saying how great it is. The famous place to go is High Falls. And people were saying they were there when they heard he was from Grand Portage. And then he said, well, that's great, but if you ever go back, go to Partridge Falls. And so I had a free day the next day, so I asked him, I said, where's this? Maybe I mentioned this last week, I don't know. And he said, told me where it was, and it's a little hard to get there with a sedan. So he said, make sure you go slow. It's just like 45-mile drive, but it took like an hour 45 to get there. And he said, for me, that falls is just the epicenter of the North Shore. It's just my favorite spot in the whole place. So I had to go see it, right? And I saw it. It was great. I got some nice pictures, a little video of the falls. But he says the epicenter, and that attracted me. And I just kind of sat there to see the falls. And I think I found a new epicenter, because that word got introduced to me when I was talking to that waiter. So I went from this altar experience, engraved the names of the sisters engraved in it, and St. Joseph. Then we went to St. John's Abbey, where the male Benedictine monks live. And before I went, it's really one of my very favorite places to pray. They have an abbey church, and I like to go up on the balcony and look down on the altar. And I like doing it at night, and the altar has spotlights on it. And there's nobody else. It's all kind of darkness. It's too dark for me to read where I'm sitting, but I'm just looking at this altar. And it's always moved me when I've been on, because I usually do an annual retreat there. You know, the altar is a place of sacrifice. It's like where we place our life. We place the bread and wine on the altar, and they are transformed into the body and blood of Christ through our prayer, through the action of the Holy Spirit of God. And they are representative, though, of us. They're of our lives, too. So we place our lives on the altar, you know, and that we might be transformed into what? More like Christ, you know? And so I like to just kind of look down at that altar and see it. It's white, and there's a cross suspended above it. And there's an altar linen, you know, neatly spread, you know, on top of it. And just imagine my life as, you know, what it's all about. It's about the sacrifice. It's like I want to have my life be for God. You know, that's when I stop and pray and remember that that's what it's all about. And so it's a great meditation piece for me. How am I doing with my life? How well am I doing that? Is my life more about me right now? And my fears and my, you know, comforts and all that stuff? Or am I really trying to put myself out there and serve God and God's people? And so anyway, then that word epicenter came back to me. You know, the epicenter. That this is the I thought, this is the epicenter. This is the place where the consecration, the bread and wine happen. It's where we not recreate, but we remember the one sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. And that transformation that he had then from dead to risen, you know, and that we join him on there. We place our lives on there. So it's the epicenter of our lives. It's what life is all about, you know. Any altar. It wouldn't have to be just the altar at St. John's Abbey. It could be the altar. Though unfortunately, you know, the altar, can't get that same vantage point at St. James because the altar is far away and it's up on steps, and so you can't really ever look down on it. So it's not quite the same experience, but it can be. You look at the altar, and this is the place. This is where it happens. This is really the epicenter, the center of the world, the dying and rising of Christ, which redeems creation. You know, it's where it all happened. We join ourselves to that very moment in the history of salvation every time we celebrate Mass, and it's a model for how we live. You know, are we, you know, not in a way that we're like doormats for other people's, but are we secure in God's love and willing to give ourselves away? That's the meaning of Eucharist. Like Eucharist is blessed, broken, and given. Our lives, we are blessed, we're loved, and we break them apart and we give them away for the good of others. That's it. That's the epicenter of our existence. So just thought I'd share that thought with you. I hope everybody has a great fall. Look at all these leaves. I might try to remember a song from when I was in grade school. I might mess it up, but I'll just sing it while you look at this. Traveling along the open road, under the sky that's clear. Traveling along the open road, in the fall of the year. Traveling along, traveling along, traveling along the open road, all in the fall of the year. Thanks, Sister Jean, for teaching me that song. As we travel along our open roads of life, Lord, we ask you to bless us. Walk ahead of us to guide us, be at our side to give us strength, and walk behind us should we fall. God bless you, everybody.